Hey, gang. So, I was once, uh, I was once part of a group. For the sake of this illustration, let's just say something like a church group. Um, Something like a church group, I guess, whatever your definition of church may be. Um, um, in reality, more like a religious group. Uh, uh, Granted, in my definition of religion and relationship with the Messiah, are in my experiences are two different things. So, for the sake of this illustration, they were a religious type of group that I found myself involved with, and a little thing that I want to share with you guys, as far as uh, it's something that I did, right. This was a group that portrayed to be um, a community group, or portrays to be a community group of individuals that are supposed to be an aid towards one another, and in all types of ways, right. um, Whatever the case may be. So in my heart, I gravitated towards this group. Call it the Father's will, because that's what it was, in order to learn certain things that I'm not going to touch on in this video. But um, part of the task was to involve myself in a like-minded group of individuals that portrayed themselves to be a group of well-being towards one another, and 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 an aid of one another, all backed by the word, backed by biblical principles, right. So one of the things that I used to be a barber, not to brag or anything, but I believed myself to be a pretty decent, pretty good uh, hairstylist, barber, whatever you want to call it, and and it was a passion of mine at a certain point in time in my life. It was a passion of mine to be involved in in cutting hair, and and I I was very passionate about learning this skill set of growing of cutting hair, and that was a very good passion of mine, that I was very, I guess, for the lack of a better word, I was proud of doing. It was something I was passionate, which is what drove me to learn the skill. I was driven to learn the skill of 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 hairstylist, of barbering, because I just, I don't know, it's just something that grew in me since an early age. I was like, I was tired of, in my own mind, not because the barbers are doing anything wrong per se, but I was tired of trying to explain to the barber how I wanted my hair cut. Specific, mind you, I'm 12, 11, 12, 13 years old, and they just wouldn't do it the way that I wanted to do it, and I kept coming back home upset. And I remember this one thing that my mom actually did, that I praise her for, that I'll never forget. She saw that I was frustrated to a degree of, like, I was just frustrated. So she went and she got me a cheap clipper set. At that time, it was this store called Eckerd's, I think it was. It's like kind of like a Walgreens, or a CVS, and I don't know if they'll still exist anywhere. So she got me this cheap clipper set, which eventually, I might have said the story a little bit. Eventually, my friends started calling them Rottweilers, because I would try to tune them and stuff, and you can't really do much with like a $15 cheap set of clippers. So I would try to tune them and stuff, and they will end up making a lot of noise. But nevertheless, that's how I started cutting hair, and I gained the skill throughout the years. I ended up in a barbershop, and so so on. So when I was in this group, uh, we had a chat. We had a form of communication amongst the community. And uh, and in the good book, in the word, it says that every worker is worth their wage, or whatnot. Uh, in my words, in some words, and I agree. I agree with that. But I think the message I was trying to relay a message, and the form that I did that was I I told everyone, hey, listen, I don't need you to give me money. What we'll do is that I'll give you the haircut, and then you can pay me in some of your labor. Like some folks were um, involved in breeding chickens and harvesting their eggs, and having eggs and stuff. And that was something that they labored in. It takes a little bit of work, not too much, but it takes a little bit of work to get that done, right? So then I was like, oh look, you're passionate about that. Uh, just give me this amount of eggs for that haircut or whatever. Or oh, you grow tomatoes. Wow, I see that you're really passionate about growing tomatoes. Why don't you give me a couple of tomatoes whenever that the season for tomatoes or whatever. Or you bake cookies. Oh wow, those are good cookies. I like cookies. And it's a skill that you have. Whether it's fine, it's cool. Whether no matter how simple, and it's something that it makes you involved physically. Personally, it makes you involved. Anybody can hand over a bill. Anybody can hand over a bill. But the message I was trying to relay is that, hey, I want to praise you and acknowledge the fact that you put in the time and the effort in the skill set that you have attained to to make those cookies, to get those chickens to lay those eggs, or whatnot, to grow that tomato. And I want to praise you for it, and appreciate the fact that you share something that you're passionate about with me, as I share something that I was once passionate about with you. And there is a transaction there, and there is a payment there, right? An equal exchange, uh, per se, and this, as long as there's an agreement, it's like I agree that my haircut is worth a couple of tomatoes, or a badge of cookies. I agree, and you agree as well. So then it's a good exchange, But and that was the message, that was a message that I was trying to. Because a lot of folks, I don't want to say all, because in the end, I really don't know the depths. I only know what the Father shows me of the hearts of man. But I want to say, by the fruits you will know them, right? Their actions speak, right, more than words. And from my observation, I saw that a lot of folks, they they portray, and I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to poop on anybody's coffee or anything. I don't know the analogy there, but if they portray to understand the concept of the type of community that I perceived, that I not perceived, that I believed in the initial introduction of me becoming one with these individuals, that they understood uh, this concept of transaction, right? This concept of just of the kingdom currency. I want to say, if I got to put a label on it, right? And I guess it was just I was inspired by the Father to do that. I didn't do that because I wanted to look cool or anything like that. It's because I really truly believe. I really truly believe in this. I believe in this wholeheartedly. This is what the Father has been showing me, how to, you know, how to acknowledge and learn of how to maneuver in his kingdom, in his kingdom, not in the kingdoms of men, right? So that was the message that I believe that the Father put in my heart to convey. It's like, hey, uh, let me show you what this means to to uh, uh, to invest in the kingdom of heaven. Let me show you what the Father is talking about His people coming together in unison. And that was basically it. It was. Hey, I'm passionate about cutting hair. This is something. This is not. I didn't get into the artistry or whatever you want to call it, the a business of cutting hair because I wanted to make money and become rich. Those thoughts came before Christ. Those thoughts did come into my into my mind of owning my own barbershop. Granted, the Father had different plans for me, which is why I never owned a barbershop. I was close to coming to that fruition, but I uh, never went through with that. The Father said, no, that's not it. But even before my acknowledgement with Christ, the plan was never for me to go in for the sake of a worldly monetary value. That wasn't it. I was passionate about cutting hair. It was a passion of mine. If anything, the whole money aspect and business aspect of it killed it. Started diminishing that passion. My passion was I spent a reasonable amount of time because I know people are sharing their time with you for you to perform that service for them. Like they can go anywhere else. So you have to be consider considerable of their time. you know but I spend a specific amount of time to trying to get the right uh the right style, the right shape, the right length of what you tell me that you want, and I try to do the best that I can. I have my passion is behind my hands, in performing that action for you, and and that was the message. The message is like, hey, just like I give this to you from my heart, you are showing me your appreciation by giving me something that comes from your heart and passion, like growing that tomato, because it takes some skill to get things to come out of the ground, and I recognize that. And like, even though I don't have that passion, I'm passionate about eating a naturally grown tomato. They're delicious, by the way. If you've never eaten a tomato that grows naturally out of the ground with no pesticides and none of that other nonsense, and all is like the store bought stuff, I encourage you to try to seek one out or grow one yourself. They're amazing, right? But I, I I I I wholeheartedly appreciate the fact that you have gone through the trouble of gaining the skill and the information necessary for you to get that tomato to grow out of the ground. Because when I eat that tomato, I'm like, wow, this is amazing, So like that was the message there to relate. Unfortunately, I felt like I just want to say most didn't really grasp because again, actions speak louder than words, and and even though certain folks say that they want this type of community and they yearn for for that type of fellowship, they really don't comprehend what it's like to truly build in the kingdom of heaven, to truly be in a wholehearted community of spiritual growth, where folks are truly there because they care about one another's spiritual well-being. And you find that there's still a lot of greed in people's hearts, and that they seek out this world more than they seek out Christ. And that was the lesson for me. That was part of the lesson. But But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys, and I'm gonna have a clever little title for you, like I like to do, and yeah, that was it, sharing passion for passion and utilizing that as currency. I've heard that there's a saying that has gone around of like, if I forget exactly how it goes, but something to the wordage of if you do what you're passionate, if you work on your passion, you'll never work a day in your life, something like that. Because when you do what you're passionate about, you are recognized for that passion. You're good at it. You love what you do. Other people will find the value and love what you do as well, and then the rest will come, yeah, naturally. So it doesn't feel like work to you because you're doing something that comes out of your heart. It's rather than wasting your life away in a 9 to 5, or in a situation where you're just trying to make ends meet. And no shade, I'm in that boat myself as we speak, so no shade, no, I'm not throwing shade on that. uh, I know we all have to make sacrifices here and there to get to we have to navigate in the system of the devil. That's just the way it goes, So I understand. So yeah, passion for passion, I'll leave you with that.